Gilead Sciences 吉利德科学公司，美国著名的创新生物制药公司，总部位于美国加利福尼亚州福斯特城 Foster City，California， 核心业务为抗病毒药物、肿瘤学、炎症与免疫疾病治疗，目前在纳斯达克上市，股票代码 GILD。吉利德科学成立于1987年，由 Michael L. Reardon 博士创立，最初专注于抗病毒药物的研究。1990年代，公司开发了早期 HIV 治疗药物，并开始在核苷类似物领域进行研究。2001年推出革命性抗 HIV 药物 Viret 替诺福韦 Tenofovir， 成为 HIV 治疗标准之一。2011年收购 Pharmasset， 成功推出丙型肝炎治疗药物索非布韦 Sofosbuvir， 和莱迪帕韦索非布韦 Lidiposvir Sofosbuvir， 彻底改变了丙肝治疗市场。2017年收购 Kite Pharma， 正式进军细胞疗法领域，推出 CAR-T 疗法阿西妥伦赛 Axicabtagene Ciloleucel 和布瑞妥伦赛 Brixicabtagene Autoleucel。2020年在新冠大流行期间，其抗病毒药物瑞德西韦 Veklury 成为全球首批获批的新冠治疗方案。2024年与 Tubulis 达成合作，开发抗体药物偶联物 ADC， 用于实体瘤治疗。目前公司注重于如下业务领域：抗病毒疗法，包括艾滋病防治领域，开发和上市的主力药有 Truvada， 用于 HIV 预防、PrEP 和治疗，可降低 HIV 传播风险。Descovy 用于 HIV 预防和治疗，对肾脏和骨密度影响较小。Biktarvy 单片复方药物，用于 HIV 治疗，不需要增强剂。Genvoya HIV 综合治疗方案包含整合酶抑制剂。另外，目前吉利德科学正在极力推进 Lenacapavir， 在 PrEP 就是 HIV 预防方面具有的突破性疗效成果，即特殊人群只需6个月注射一次便可取得预防艾滋病毒感染的功效，可能在2025年获得批准。乙型肝炎 HBV 和丙型肝炎 HCV 领域的主力药有 Vemlidy， 用于慢性乙型肝炎 HBV， 对肾脏毒性更低。Viret 用于慢性乙型肝炎 HBV 和 HIV 治疗。Harvonid 用于丙型肝炎 HCV， 可实现高治愈率。Epclusa 泛基因型 HCV 治疗方案，可适用于所有丙肝基因型患者。新冠领域有 Veklury、瑞德西韦 Remdesivir， 肿瘤治疗基于 CAR-T 细胞疗法的药物。Yescarta 治疗复发及难治性大 B 细胞淋巴瘤 LBCL。Jakartas 适用于复发难治性套细胞淋巴瘤 MCL。抗体药物偶联物 ADC 药物有 Trodelvy， 用于三阴性乳腺癌 TNBC 和尿路上皮癌 UC。炎症与免疫疾病，针对类风湿性关节炎、溃疡性结肠炎的药物 Gsuleca， 用于类风湿性关节炎和溃疡性结肠炎，为 JAK1 选择性抑制剂。2025年2月，吉利德科学公布了2024年第4季度以及全年的业绩。下面我们来听听公司管理层在业绩发布电话会议上的内容介绍。
Thank you, Jackie, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to share Gilead's very strong fourth quarter and full year results, which highlight growing revenues and exceptional bottom line growth. Starting with our full year performance, total product sales, excluding Veklury, increased 8% year over year to $26.8 billion, and fourth quarter 2024 total product sales, excluding Veklury, increased 13% year over year to $7.2 billion. Full year HIV sales grew 8% in 2024 to $19.6 billion, significantly ahead of our expectation to grow HIV 5% in 2024. Full year sales for Biktarvy, the standard of care for HIV treatment, grew 13%. In recent years, our HIV business has established a track record of consistently strong growth, with 5% growth in 2022, 6% in 2023, and now 8% in 2024. This is driven by the strength of our innovation and by the consistently strong execution of our team. In 2025, while volume and demand growth will continue, we can expect to see a temporary masking of the trend with the anticipated impact of Medicare Part D reform on revenue growth. This will effectively reset the base from which our HIV business will continue to grow from 2025. We fully expect to see our leadership in HIV continue and extend beyond the 2030s based on our long-acting portfolio, of which lenacapavir is the foundation. In December, we filed for approval of lenacapavir for twice-yearly HIV prevention in the U.S., where it has breakthrough therapy designation, and we continue to make progress on our global filings. At the end of January, we filed for approval with the European Medicines Agency, and our submission will be assessed under an accelerated review timeline. Given the unprecedented efficacy in the Phase 3 Purpose 1 and Purpose 2 trials, and the significant potential that exists in HIV prevention, we are looking forward to delivering on this global opportunity in 2025 and beyond. As we shared at our HIV Analyst Day in December, we have a broad and unmatched clinical program for both HIV treatment and prevention that builds on what we currently offer with Biktarvy and Descovy. We expect to deliver up to 7 potential new HIV treatment options and 2 prevention options before the end of 2033, including new daily, weekly, and monthly orals, as well as quarterly and twice-yearly injectables. We look forward to sharing a number of HIV clinical updates this year, including updates from Artistry-1 in people with HIV on complex regimens, and the Phase 2 portion of our Wonders-1 trial evaluating a potential once-weekly HIV treatment option. Moving to inflammation, the fourth quarter of 2024 was the first full quarter since commercial launch for Livdelzi in the United States, and we are extremely pleased with the results. The strong sales of approximately $30 million for the quarter underscore the important differentiation that Livdelzi brings to people with primary biliary cholangitis, and we expect a European Commission decision later this month following the CHMP recommendation for Livdelzi in December. Our liver portfolio, which amounts to a $3 billion business today, is a steady contributor for Gilead, and we look forward to seeing it evolve with the new impetus of Livdelzi. We also continue to make progress across our early and promising inflammation pipeline. This includes the recent addition of our STAT6 program from Leo Pharma and the advancement of our bicistronic CAR-T targeting CD19 and CD20 for autoimmune diseases. In oncology, we continue to make progress on expanding the reach of our cell therapies to the many additional patients who could benefit from a one-time therapy in these challenging hematological malignancies. And at the same time, our collaboration with Arcellx on anito-cel continues to yield promising results. Data from the registrational Phase 2 Imagine-1 trial were shared at the ASH meeting in December, where anito-cel demonstrated its potential to be a best-in-class BCMA CAR-T therapy. We continue to target commercial launch in 2026 and have separately dosed our first patient in the Phase 3 Imagine-3 trial in the second to fourth line setting. Trodelvy, meanwhile, remains the only approved TROP2 ADC to demonstrate overall survival benefit in pretreated HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer and in second-line metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. Additionally, Trodelvy has 6 ongoing Phase 3 trials with updates from the ASCENT-03 and ASCENT-04 trials in first-line metastatic triple-negative breast cancer expected this year. We also anticipate initiating another Phase 3 trial for Trodelvy in extensive-stage small cell lung cancer patients later this year. Our many near-term opportunities across HIV, oncology, and inflammation will help to drive the next wave of growth for Gilead. We have no major loss of exclusivity until late 2033, and we have significant potential across the entire portfolio. With that in mind, I'm delighted to introduce our new Chief Medical Officer, Dietmar Berger, who joined us in early January. Dietmar's exceptional leadership in global drug development, his track record in delivering transformational therapies, and the breadth and depth of his experience make him an ideal leader for taking us through the next chapter for Gilead, and I know you will all enjoy getting to know him in the months ahead. I would also like to thank Merdad Parsi for his contributions to Gilead over the last 5 years and wish him the very best for his retirement. Among his many achievements, Merdad developed a world-class team that has helped to build the most robust and diversified pipeline in Gilead's history, now with 54 ongoing clinical programs, up from just 32 clinical programs in 2019. With that, I'll hand it over to Joanna.
Thanks, Dan, and good afternoon, everyone. 2024 was another exceptional year of commercial execution for Gilead, marking the third consecutive year of high single-digit percentage growth in our base business, with sales up 8% year over year. Gilead's commercial success underscores the dedication of so many teams across the company, and I'd like to recognize them all for contributing to another outstanding quarter and closing out a very successful year. Beginning on slide 7, with our fourth quarter results, total product sales excluding Veklury were $7.2 billion, an increase of 13% year over year, driven by higher HIV product sales, as well as growth in our oncology and liver disease portfolios. Including Veklury, total product sales grew 7% year over year, reflecting the impact of lower COVID-related hospitalizations on Veklury sales. Turning to the full year on slide 8, total product sales excluding Veklury were $26.8 billion, well above the high end of our 5 to 6% growth guidance range, reflecting strong performance in each of our core therapeutic areas. Including Veklury, total product sales were $28.6 billion, a 6% growth rate compared to 2023. Moving to slide 9, our HIV business once again delivered very strong results for the fourth quarter, with sales of $5.5 billion, up 16% year over year, primarily driven by demand, as well as higher average realized price and favorable inventory dynamics. Sequentially, HIV sales were up 7%, reflecting typical seasonal inventory dynamics and higher demand, partially offset by lower average realized price. In treatment, Biktarvy continues to go from strength to strength, with 21% year-over-year sales growth. Biktarvy now commands over 50% share in the U.S. market and maintains its position as the regimen of choice across other major G9 markets. Descovy also delivered 21% year-over-year growth and maintained over 40% U.S. market share in PrEP, despite the availability of other regimens, including generics. As a reminder, PrEP accounts for the majority of Descovy revenues. We're pleased to see payers continue to recognize the benefits of PrEP as barriers to Descovy coverage are removed, with over 85% of lives now covered without the need for step edits or prior authorizations. On slide 10, full-year sales of $19.6 billion were up 8% year-over-year, with the majority of the growth driven by higher demand as well as higher average realized price. More broadly, the HIV treatment market grew around 3% in 2024, consistent with our expectations of 2 to 3% market growth annually. In prevention, market growth accelerated and increased over 16% year-over-year in the fourth quarter, highlighting growing demand for HIV prevention options, which is particularly exciting to see ahead of our potential launch of lenacapavir for prevention in the summer. Preparation activities for the U.S. launch are well underway, and we have also recently submitted marketing authorization applications to the European Medicines Agency for lenacapavir for PrEP across the EU. We can't wait to make this unique prevention option available as we look to redefine the PrEP market in the years ahead. On slide 11, we highlight the impact of the 2025 transition to the new Medicare Part D model. As a reminder, the changes include, first, the requirement that manufacturers provide discounts towards the cost of drugs for Medicare patients during the initial coverage and catastrophic phases. And second, the introduction of manufacturer discounts for people who qualify for the Low Income Subsidy Program, or LIS. This population is disproportionately impacted by HIV, hence this impact on our business due to the larger cost-sharing obligations. As these changes are implemented, our 2025 revenue will be impacted by approximately $1.1 billion, of which almost $900 million is in HIV. As a result, and consistent with prior updates, we expect HIV revenue to be roughly flat in 2025, masking the robust demand-led volume growth that we've seen consistently over the last several years in HIV and expect to continue through 2025 and into 2026 and beyond. Excluding this Medicare transition and FX headwinds, our expected HIV revenue growth in 2025 would have been at least 5%, reflecting our continued expectations for strong, demand-led volume growth, but offset in part by less favorable pricing assumptions due to channel mix. With regards to the first quarter of 2025 specifically, we'll remind you to expect the normal HIV seasonal inventory drawdown, as well as the impact of the reset of patient copays and deductibles on average realized price and market growth. Combined with the projected IRA impact, we expect HIV revenue to decline in the mid-teen % range quarter over quarter compared to the very strong revenue delivered in the fourth quarter. Overall, performance of both Biktarvy and Descovy for both the quarter and full year highlight Gilead's unparalleled position in the HIV market, both in terms of the clinical profile of our therapies as well as our best-in-class HIV commercialization team. Moving to liver disease on slide 12, fourth quarter sales of $719 million were up 4% year over year, reflecting our strong launch of Livdelzi in PBC and increased demand for HBV and HDV products, partially offset by lower HCV sales due to fewer patient starts. Sequentially, sales were down 2%, primarily driven by lower HCV sales due to lower average realized price and the timing of purchases, partially offset by higher sales in PBC and HBV. Full-year sales of $3 billion were up 9% year over year, primarily driven by higher demand across our liver disease portfolio. Viral hepatitis remains an important, steady contributor to Gilead's revenue, with our products maintaining leading share across major markets. I'm also pleased to provide an update on the early launch progress of Livdelzi on slide 13, which received accelerated approval in the U.S. in August for the treatment of PBC. In its first full quarter of commercial availability, Livdelzi sales were $30 million, with demand outpacing our expectations and strong early brand share. As the only approved therapy with statistically significant improvements in both ALP and pruritus, as well as a demonstrated safety profile, we are excited to see how this positive launch momentum evolves in 2025. Outside of the U.S., last month, the MHRA in the UK approved Livdelzi for the treatment of PBC, including pruritus. Livdelzi also received a positive CHMP opinion in December, and we expect a final decision from the European Commission later this month. We're excited for these positive steps in Livdelzi's development to bring this important treatment to patients globally. Moving to slide 14, Veklury fourth quarter sales of $337 million were down 53% year over year and 51% sequentially, primarily due to lower rates of COVID-19 hospitalizations and typical of the quarterly variability we've seen with COVID-19. Full-year sales were $1.8 billion, down 18% from 2023 and in line with our expectations. Moving to oncology on slide 15, full-year sales of $3.3 billion increased 12% year over year, reflecting our growing presence in this area of high unmet need, and we're proud to have treated over 80,000 patients to date across Trodelvy and our cell therapies. On slide 16, fourth quarter Trodelvy sales of $355 million increased 19% year over year and 7% sequentially, with full-year sales increasing 24% year over year to $1.3 billion. Year-over-year growth for both periods reflected higher demand in all regions, highlighting the important role of Trodelvy in metastatic breast cancers, including in second-line metastatic triple-negative breast cancer, where it's a standard of care. In particular, Trodelvy continues to maintain market leadership in the metastatic triple-negative breast cancer setting across both the U.S. and Europe, and is approved in 55 markets. Combined with ongoing adoption in the pre-treated HR-positive HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer setting, we are pleased to see continued growing demand for Trodelvy. Moving to cell therapy on slide 17, and on behalf of Cindy and the Kite team, full-year sales of $2 billion and over 7,000 patients treated in 2024 demonstrate Kite's continued leadership in CAR-T. As expected, the fourth quarter cell therapy sales of $488 million were flat on a sequential basis and up 5% year over year, reflecting the continued challenging competitive dynamics in the US and in Europe. These headwinds include a number of new cell therapy launches across indications both in the US and outside the US, in addition to a slower than targeted uptake of cell therapy as a class. We expect continued competitive headwinds in 2025. We are making progress on our goal to make cell therapies available to large integrated community oncology practices in the US. This involves addressing some of the hurdles for these networks to begin CAR T treatments, including that CAR T sites often need to be accredited by the Foundation for the Accreditation of Cellular Therapy, or FACT, often enabling wider commercial reimbursement. We are working with industry groups and other manufacturers to address barriers through policy reform and exploring accreditation with groups like FACT. We look forward to sharing our progress with you in future quarters. Wrapping up 2024, I'm proud of the positive impact of Gilead's compelling portfolio of medicines on millions of people around the world. As we look to 2025, the commercialization teams are invigorated to extend the reach of our potentially transformative medicines to even more patients, and we remain focused on launch activities, including for the potential launch of lenacapavir for PrEP this summer.